This is a 2008 Trader 42 Signature, and it's a very intriguing boat indeed, in particular the layout, which I'm very keen to show you, so stick with me. You probably haven't seen anything quite like this before. It's a very interesting boat. I'll show you underneath actually whilst it's out of the water. This is very much designed for long distance cruising. So it has, for example, it has this long keel, so that gives very good directional stability. Also gives a bit of protection to the propellers, so if you were ever to touch the bottom, that I believe will touch first. Conventional shaft drive, and you've got the rudders at the back there behind, twin engines of course. You'll see the other one just round here. These are what they call tunneled propellers. You can see the tunnels here, and the idea of these is that it gives the facility for the propellers to be further up, and that makes the shaft angle flatter. If you imagine if this was completely flat, those propellers would be lower and there'd be more of an angle, so they're more efficient like that. And you can see the four bladed propellers on here. This fellow here is a stern thruster. There's a bow thruster as well, there to help push the boat sideways when you're docking. But as I say, the really interesting bit is the layout when we get on board. Come and take a look at this. So just here, this is actually a tender handling apparatus. So you put your tender on there, and this whole thing swings out and lowers to launch your tender. And as we come onto here, now this isn't a sports boat and it isn't a flybridge cruiser. It's a sort of almost a meld between the two, because this feels like being in a sports boat. You've got the canopies overhead, you've got the big windscreen around, you've got the aft seat on the same level as your helm, and this is all very well protected. As I say, you've got the canopy, you've got the big screens, and so this is the only helm area on the boat, as it would be on a sports boat. And it also means that it keeps the air draft down, because if you had a flybridge up on top of there, then everything has to sort of rise up again. So very good again for cruising, particularly if you want to go into areas like inland areas where you might encounter bridges. Let's have a quick look at the helm. So these are your two helm seats. You've got Raymarine navigation equipment here, so that's in behind there, and then things like your speed and your depth. And these are the controls for those bow and stern thrusters here, and then throttle controls and steering wheel, engine instrumentation and so on. But let's head on down below, because I think this is where it gets very interesting. So from here, rather than a flybridge boat where the deck is on the same level as the saloon, you actually go down into it. But unlike a sports boat, we are then very much down inside the boat. When you get down into here, you've still got the big windows and the great view out from the saloon that you'd have on a flybridge boat. So it's a really interesting sort of meld of the two, and works very well indeed. There's a big seating area around a table just here, and this is rather neat. This swings out to give you seating all the way around, like that. And then the galley, well, that's opposite, over on this side. Decent size. You've got 4-ring electric hob, the cooker is underneath, and then the fridge is here, and the freezer next to it, and that is just a bit of storage underneath, and then your sink is underneath that one, and that you can use for a bin in the corner. So saloon and galley, all very good. Let's head on a bit further forward. Now you'll notice there's no lower helm position, because that aft deck helm position is so well protected with the canopy and the big screens. You don't need one down here, and that really opens this area out. Another thing that you do have in here is a side door, so that will slide open to give you direct access out to the deck and round to the front if you wanted it from here. Also great for ventilation, of course. And then we head on down here. A couple of things to show you here. There is day heads, so toilet is there, and your sink, and a shower. Also, just in this area, well, I'll go past it, the washing machine lives in here as well. There's a cabin here, so you've got two beds that go across like that. You can see again bits of storage around the place. There's a translucent skylight up above to let a bit of light into here. So perfect nice cabin, and then there's another cabin up here. So this has got two single beds, like so, and storage, that's a wardrobe in there, and there's drawers underneath. And you might say, well, that's all right, but you know, as owners' cabins go, it's not huge, is it? No, it's not. That's because it's not the owner's cabin. Come and take a look at this. So back up through this saloon area, And the reason it has this raised aft deck is because there's another stairway here. And if we drop down here, look at this. This is the owner's cabin. How nice is that? This is proper liverboard stuff, isn't it? You go away on this boat, put it in the Med or wherever you want to put it, and disappear for 6 months. It'd be great. Very comfortable cabin here. You've got storage dotted around the places you'd expect. That one is a hanging locker. And more down here. Little bedside table over there. And then over on this side, this has its own separate ensuite. It's great, isn't it? I think that's very impressive. It's a very intriguing layout. Let's close that again. Let's come right back over here, and then you can see the whole thing, hopefully. Awesome. Let's go look at the engines, see what makes it go. Big window in the back here, by the way. You can see that opens. So it's sealed when you're underway, of course, but when you're at anchor, you can open that up and you've got a view straight out across the water, because that's almost at water level there. That's the bathing platform across the back. Very nice. So I'll just show you as we're going past. There is yet more storage out here. As I say, if you want to spend a long time on the boat, it's certainly geared for that. This here is the distribution panel. See the way it lights up when I open these. So this is things like all your 12-volt systems and circuit breakers are on this side, or your 230-volt are on this side, and then the main battery isolator switches are underneath, and the AC selector, so that's switching over from generator to shore power. And in fact, the generator startup panel itself is down there as well. All proper stuff, isn't it? Engines. Let me show you the engines. They are beneath the floor, and we get to them, rather intriguingly, back here. So that lifts right up. And then underneath, this panel swings back. And then we have a proper little watertight door into the engine bay. These over here, incidentally, are things like the fire extinguisher pull. You've got fire dampers as well, which you can pull from here. So those close off the vents, so that if you had a fire in there, it stops the oxygen going in, and you can even shut off the fuel supplies from here. So if you ever had a situation with fire, you can deal with it all from there without going into the engine space at all. But if we open this, this takes us into the engine room. Now these are a pair of Cummins QSB 5.9. They're 425 horsepower each. And as I mentioned, they're a conventional shaft drive. If we come right to the back, you can actually see the shafts going out the back here and down here. But quite a decent engine room, and in fact it looks very much as though those panels in the ceiling you can lift up as well, so if you wanted to get in from there you could do for more major servicing work. And the generator is in here as well. That's just there. It looks as though there's more lights in here, which I don't seem to be able to find a switch for, so I apologise for that. I only managed to get the light at the back on, but hopefully that could be a pretty good idea at least. And I want to talk to you about performance and range on this one, because that is quite interesting as well. So I'm going to back out of here. Close that one over. A proper little engine room though, isn't it? And then we'll bring that one back down. And this is this panel that comes back across here, like so. I think I'm going to use this little seat here and talk to you about range, because whenever I discuss range on these things, people always say, Oh, that's not very far. And I try and explain it's because it's a fast boat and they use a lot of fuel to get them over displacement speed. This is a perfect example because I have the full figures here. So, flat out, this boat will do about 24 knots. And at that sort of speed, your range in total is about 258. So if you allow a decent reserve, you're barely over 200 miles. But look at it at this end of the scale. 750 RPM, 6 knots, and your range then is 1,500 miles with a 25% reserve. You've got over 1,000 miles of range. You can take that even further. You can drop down to a single engine, 1,000 RPM, same speed, 6 knots. And look here, over 2,000 miles. That's a huge, huge difference, isn't it? From the 258 or 193 with the reserve that you're getting flat out. And that, I think, is an important thing to point out to people, is the fact that if you want the range out of these boats, there's only one way to do it: slow right down. That's why Nordhavens go so far. So that is about it. A very intriguing boat. I hope you've enjoyed that one. It is for sale with Clipper Marine, so I'll put details of those guys in the description. If you're interested or you want to have a look at it, give them a shout. I'm sure they'll be pleased to hear from you. Thanks very much for watching this one. Let me know what you think of it in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you on another video very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.